Good morning, Tehmeena Khan is here in TKMaths is 1. In today's video, which is video number 2 on hypothesis testing, we will study the terms specifically used while we are solving hypothesis question on hypothesis testing, which is a part of the syllabus of A-level mathematics S2. The code is 9709. All these terms I will explain to you with the help of these questions, with this question. And let's go through the question first very quickly. Isaac claims that 30% of the car in the town are red. His friend Hardeep thinks that the proportion is less than 30%. I will break this question in two parts to explain those terms. The boys decided to test Isaac's claims at the 5% significance level. In the last video, I explained to you the meaning of the significance level is basically that percentage within which if somebody falls, that then null hypothesis is rejected. What is null hypothesis? We will discuss now. And I related it to make you understand, just like in any examination system, if it is said that the students who will obtain less than 25% will considered fail. So even if somebody can get 24%, 23%, 20%, 18%, till 1%, they will all be considered as fail. So all those who will obtain less than 25% will considered as fail. Similarly, when we will calculate the probability, if probability will come or will be less than 5%, because 5% is the significance level, then it will be considered that null hypothesis is rejected. And then what happened? A sample of 18 cars is taken, and from those 18 cars, 2 cars were red. So let's understand the terms with the help of this question. So I've explained it to you so that you can have it in your mind. And all those steps I will explain, keeping in mind the steps when we solve hypothesis testing. Right? These I explained to you in the last video. So all these terms we will look at. Sorry, my throat is very bad right now, but I'm trying to explain. So please accept my apology if you don't understand anything. So first of all, what is hypothesis testing? So hypothesis you need to understand first of all. So hypothesis is an assumption that is made about a particular population parameter. Now what does this mean? If I relate it with this question, it is about the red cars in the town. So population is what? Red cars in that town. And what is the assumption? 30%. That the red cars in the town are 30%. So this is hypothesis. Population parameter is a numerical characteristic. So this is your population parameter, which is a numerical characteristics which helps to define the population. I have written also because some people are visual learners, some are just listeners, good listeners, and they understand. So I have written here for both. So last time I told you H0 is called null hypothesis and H1 is called alternative hypothesis. So null hypothesis is denoted by H0 and set out the assumed population parameter, which is like as a understood thing taken by everyone, right? Like in this case, Isaac says it is 30% red cars in the town, and that cannot change. This is null hypothesis. Whereas the alternative hypothesis talk about the change in that. So if somebody say no, it is not 30%, it is less than 30%, or it is more than 30%, or somebody does not even say more or less and he just said no, it is different, it is not that, there is a change in it. So then we use this symbol. For more we use this symbol, for less we use this symbol. In this case, for alternative hypothesis we are using this because Hardeep thinks that the proportion is less than 30%. But null hypothesis is always equal to. An alternative hypothesis is always one of these. Okay, because it is talking about the change which is expected. When a hypothesis test is carried out, now this is very important, the null hypothesis is assumed to be true. So whenever we start any test, we have to make some reference thing. Okay, this is true, and then based on that we make some decision. So in hypothesis testing, the null hypothesis is assumed to be true, And then when we perform the test, then what we have to say? Yes, it is accepted or rejected. So that's why after performing the test, based on the probability, we say either null hypothesis is rejected or accepted, right? So we talk in that context and in context of the scenario. We will see that. So for example, in this question, because random sample of 18 cars were taken and 2 were red. So 2 is called a test value, right? And how do we write it? Because this is important to write. If H naught is true, right? This is important. Like we said, when we carry out the test, the null hypothesis is considered is assumed to be true. If H naught is true, then because this is the case of binomial and the parameters are n and p, proportion and total numbers, 18, 0.3. Like I said in the last video, we will have hypothesis testing on 3 type of population, which is binomial, Poisson and normal. So here if you see, because of binomial I have written p. If the question will be on Poisson, instead of p I will write what? Lambda. And if it is normal, I will write mu. The rest of the steps which I am explaining you will remain same. However, there will be little difference in normal, so that I will discuss, but binomial and Poisson are same, exactly same. So now we have seen what is null hypothesis, what is alternative hypothesis, what is hypothesis, and how do we perform hypothesis test. So the thing is, a sample of data is taken, right? And then experiment to test a statement made by the value of the population parameter. So what we are testing it against? Against the statement which is made about the population parameter. In this case, it was 30% red cars in the town. And what Hardeep said? Okay, no, it is less than this proportion. So we are testing against that statement of Hardeep. So hypothesis test is used when the value of the assumed population is questioned. So now it is questioned about the 30% of the red cars in the town. The probability found will be compared against the significance level. So I explained it to you already with the help of examination scenario. If it is said that 25% less than, students obtained less than 25% will be considered fail. Similarly, in hypothesis testing, whatever the significance level is set, and by the way, the significance level is set by the researchers about different situation. We don't have to set here in our syllabus. It will be given to us, or maybe the things are given and we have to find out with the help of those. Things mean the factors. So if the probability is less than that significance level percentage, we reject H naught. Okay. So you have seen null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis. I have written it here again, same thing. And I have to explain now what is one-tail test and two-tail test. Now when we say one-tail test, it's basically in the alternative hypothesis where we have written this, if it is less than or if it is greater than, then it is called one-tail test. Either we are talking about upper end or lower end. But if it is change and I don't know, either it is increase or decrease, then in that case it is called two-tail test. So I'm repeating, you have to read the wording of the question very carefully and then you have to decide. So basically the null hypothesis will always be considered as p equals to, in case of binomial it is proportion. So either it is one-tail test or two-tail test, it depends on the alternative hypothesis and the situation given to you in the question, right? We will see more example. I have already made different videos on different questions, so you can get better idea from there. Right now you need to understand what does this mean. So based on the question, like in this case Hardeep said it is less than 30%, so we use this symbol and it is one tail, lower tail. This is called one tail, upper tail. Okay. Now, so how it is written? It is written like this. First of all, what is your variable x? It is the number of red cars in a random sample of 18 cars. H naught p is equals to 0.3, the proportion of red cars. Alternative hypothesis, p less than 0.3, the proportion of red car is less than, this is the doubt, right? And against this we are doing the testing. and then it is assumed that the null hypothesis is true. Now when you carry out the test, you check against the probability and against the significance level. So now we have already seen the test value is 2. Binomial you have done in S1. So you perform the test and you got what here? 5.99%. Now 5.99% is greater than 5%, which was the significance level. So it is not less than 5%. It means the H naught will not be rejected. If H naught will not be rejected, then come here. If I am not rejecting it, then what is the meaning of this? It means I am saying that there is no evidence that the red cars are less than 30% in the town. Right? So in next video, I will go into the detail of the critical region, which I have just spoken about. So when you get the probability, and if it is not in less than the significance level given, then you do not reject H naught. So this video has become a little longer, so I'm ending it. In next video, we will see critical region and continue the question. Right? So thank you very much for watching the video, and we'll continue it in the next video. Take care. Allah Hafiz.